Mike Salt away every single second. Trent Jr. pokes it away. Mitchell for the lead with .3.
So I tasked you guys with giving me your biggest overreactions to the Cleveland Cavaliers' magnificent start to the 2024-25 season, and y'all showed out in a major way. Around 90 or so total responses, and I gotta admit, I was really interested in seeing what you guys would cook up. I loved it, honestly, and don't get me wrong, we definitely got some basic overreactions, things that probably don't even qualify as overreactions. But we also got some really interesting ones too. Number 1, 82-0. Now let's start with the most common one that we got, and that, my friends, is that this Cavaliers team will go 82-0. That's right. They'll go undefeated during the regular season, becoming the first team in NBA history to do so. And now, as we all know, there have been 2 teams to come relatively close to doing just that. That would be the 95-96 Bulls, who went 72-10 during the regular season before earning their 4th championship, which kicked off their 2nd three-peat. That was obviously a special time in the league, as Michael Jordan and company absolutely destroyed anybody they reigned supreme. Nobody really had an answer prior to the retirement and whatnot. And the second and more recent team to come close was the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors, who we as Cleveland fans should know very well. They would break the NBA's record for most wins during the regular season by finishing with a pristine 73-9 record before having perhaps the biggest collapse in NBA history by losing to the Cavs despite building a 3-1 lead in the 2015-2016 finals. And the rest is history. LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, and a slew of others helped bring the Larry O'Brien trophy to the city of Cleveland for the first time in franchise history. And as I'm recording this video, the Cavaliers are 7-0, and the hopes of going undefeated remain. 7 down, 75 to go. Let's hope. Number 2, 74-8. And in the same line of thought, one that came through that might be more realistically attainable is for the Cavaliers to go 74-8. That will topple the 2015-2016 Warriors for the NBA's best overall record, and would undoubtedly give the Cavaliers an 8-game buffer to sprinkle throughout the season, which would give them a little less pressure, right, than 82-0. Shoot for the stars, right? Number 3, the Cavaliers will end up with Ben Simmons. Yes, you heard that right. Jeff Hardy over on Twitter or X or whatever the hell people call it these days suggested that Ben Simmons will end up on the Cavaliers at some point this season. Now, the Brooklyn Nets are still signing Ben's paychecks, so the only way that this would occur would be via trade or on the buyout market if Simmons were to be bought out. Is this theory, shall I call it that, possible? I suppose, but do I see it happening? Absolutely not. Simmons is currently averaging 5.8 points, 6 rebounds, 6.2 assists, and is completing 61.5% of his field goals across 6 games, all of which have been starts so far this season. He is averaging only 24.3 minutes per game too. Now, dude ain't what he once was, right? We all know that about Ben Simmons after his first couple of seasons with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he can still bring somewhat of a value to a team. And for the Nets, who aren't exactly committed to one direction completely or another, who knows what this dude's availability is going to look like around the deadline. But one thing I do know is that any team looking to acquire him would surely wait things out and see if Brooklyn does indeed buy him out because of his massive $40 million cap hit. He's in the final season of that contract he signed with Philly a few years back and is trying to reestablish his value on the court, and might very well end up being able to do so and becoming a top free agent value in the 2015-2016 offseason. I just do not see the Cavaliers bringing him in though. Number 4, the Cavs will win the Eastern Conference. I saw this quite a few times, as you see here. Mike Walk 32 says we're winning the East this year. Nick Burns, I'm thinking about finals, which I don't like thinking about the NBA finals when we're 7 games into the season. Michael Kling saying overreaction. I'd say NBA finals. I think Eastern Conference finals is a significant possibility. So obviously this one suggests that the Cavaliers will win the East, essentially meaning that they will represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. And in order to do that, they would need to defeat not 1, not 2, but 3 different opponents in the playoffs, obviously. It might all boil down to what seed they get to. Most people outside of Cleveland, and even some fans in Cleveland, still consider the reigning champion Boston Celtics to be the best team in the league. And they do play in the East. We can't forget that. And to be the man, they often say you got to beat the man. And right now, they're the man. They ain't going anywhere. But after Boston and Cleveland, there really might be a real drop-off in the East. Teams like Indiana and Milwaukee have struggled out of the gate. I mean, Milwaukee literally has lost 5 of 6 games so far this season, and Cleveland could add on to that tonight after beating them in their previous game. New York is still working to fully integrate their new pieces into the lineup and might take some time to completely gel. The Magic took a big hit with the loss of Banchero for now. Philly is clearly going to prioritize the health of Joel Embiid and Paul George and rest them as much as they can, which could affect playoff seeding and potential matchups for them. And while I'll never truly count out the likes of the Miami Heat when Eric Spoelstra is still patrolling the sidelines and at the helm over there, I am not fearful of them in the slightest. Nobody else in the East, frankly, should pose a significant threat with the way the Cavaliers are playing, but I do have to acknowledge it's early on in the season and a lot can happen between now and April and May. So we'll see. Number 5, the Cavs will score over 100 every game this season. This is coming in from Felix over on Twitter. Of all the comments I got to this question, I think this might be one of the more attainable ones. I'm not going to give it 100, 10 out of 10 possibility, but I do have to acknowledge it is a possibility with the way the Cavaliers are playing. Last season, the Cavs averaged 112.6 points per game, which ranked 20th. They failed to score over 110 total times throughout the 2023-24 campaign, averaging 93.8 points per game in those games. And mind you, this came during a season in which the team placed 24th in pace with a pace of 97.62. Now, Kenny's Cavaliers haven't scored below 110 so far this year and are averaging 123.1 points per game. If this season ended today, that would actually be the 9th most potent scoring offense in NBA history. No lie. The highest scoring offense in league history was the 1981-82 Denver Nuggets, who averaged 126.5 points per game. They never scored fewer than 105 points. They are, in fact, the only team in history to score at least 100 points in each game of their season. Now, honestly, I think most of us would agree on this simple fact. We do not care how many points they score as long as they are winning. But scoring as many points as possible absolutely helps, especially after what we've seen the last couple of years. They have either been blowing teams out or fighting tooth and nail to preserve their pristine record. In either case, the points are coming in bunches. They are doing this despite no single player averaging more than 30 minutes per game and no single player averaging over 25 points per game. Donovan Mitchell leads the pack at 24.4 points per game. Bet on this being a real possibility. I would. Number 6, the Cavaliers will send 4 players to the AllStar game. Now, I'll say this, I do not believe the Cavaliers will end up doing this. I think it's probably going to be about 2, maybe Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen. If there's one recurring element here, it's Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell should make it. But honestly, it is possible, and I have to acknowledge the impact that winning can have on voting. The last team to send 4 players to an All-Star game was the 2018 iteration of the Golden State Warriors, who sent Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. That has actually occurred 9 times throughout NBA history. That season, Klay, Steph, and KD each scored over 20 points per game, but let's not sit up here and act like everyone has to score a high amount of points in order to get there, because that season, Draymond only averaged 11 points per game, but he was up there in assists and rebounds, and we know how impactful he was as a defender, so it's completely possible. I'm just not going to put my money on it, but you guys can. Number 7, the Cavaliers can beat anybody in a 7-game series. Cavs in 4, the opponent is irrelevant, says Chad. Jant says Chip. Jashawn Prohaska says world champs. Chad and others believe the Cavaliers can beat anybody. You can see it in the wording. Cavs in 4, the opponent is irrelevant. This is the type of thinking, the type of optimism that is typical of this channel, and I can absolutely get behind it. Let's fucking go. Number 8, Ty Jerome for 6th man of the year. RIP Toriyama. This is another that I think that does have an outside chance. After all, Ty Jerome has been pretty damn solid to start the season. Through the Cavs' first 7 games, he is averaging 9.9 points, 2.3 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1.3 steals, while completing over 57.1% of his field goals, including 50% from three-point distance, and little over 14.7 minutes per game. This could easily boil down to essentially the playing time that he has allotted. He has played over 15 minutes in 5 of those 7 games, but has also been held below 10 in 2 of the other outings. When Max Strus returns, when he comes back, things could get even more complicated and interesting in terms of minutes distribution and roles and rotation, honestly. Also, we can't discount the level of play of Caris LeVert either. He is undoubtedly Jerome's biggest competition and roadblock to getting serious praise, and he plays on the same damn team. I'm all for it though. Time will tell. Number 9, the Cavs are the new version of the 2014-2015 Warriors. Now, I've been saying this for a minute now. Yes, it is early, but the transition from JB Bickerstaff to Kenny Atkinson seriously looks like an updated and newer version of the transition from Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr. And if you don't recall, the Warriors finished with the NBA's best overall record at 67-15 and led the league in scoring that year with an average of 110 points per game. Just listening to that, right, just looking that stat up, it just shows you how far we've come in terms of pace, speed. You know, the way the offense is approached in the NBA, 110 points per game can pace the way for everybody. Yes, the changes made to the starting lineup, such as moving Draymond Green and Harrison Barnes into the starting 5 in place of Andre Iguodala and David Lee, were big during the regular season, but a big part of their success, in my opinion, can be attributed to pace and space. And don't get me wrong, the Warriors under Mark Jackson were still operating at a quick pace and were shooting a ton of threes. But with the arrival of Steve Kerr, the Warriors kicked things into overdrive in those 2 areas. They led the league in pace at 99.28 that season and were attempting the 4th most triples at 27 per game. Oh, and it should be noted that they heavily leaned on depth that year too. Kerr had 12 different players averaging at least 10 minutes per game by season's end, and no one played more than Steph Curry's 32.7. They were fresh for the playoffs. Kenny Atkinson seems to be taking a page out of his book and trending in that direction, folks. Let's not forget that they won the title that season either, although a few injuries to the Cavaliers kind of helped them. Number 10, the Cavaliers go on a historic championship run. I'm just laughing as I'm reading this. 10-0 in the finals over the next 10 seasons and 82-0 over all 10 regular seasons, then 81-1 and an 11th championship, says Gormedius Prime. And Paul Scrimp kind of co-signs here, says, I bought tickets for game 4 of the 2026-27 finals when we three-peat. I had to include this one because it's either a troll or it's the biggest overreaction I've seen in a while. The Cavaliers go 10-0 over the next 10 seasons, yada yada. They win all 10 championships and then they cap it off with an 11th after going 81-1 during that 11th season. And please note, the longest championship run in NBA history was from 1958 to 1966 when the Boston Celtics won 8 straight titles. No one has come close since. It is the league has a lot of parity now, and I just don't see that type of run ever happening. But I need some of what you guys are drinking. Pass it over here. Number 11, Max Strus coming back could ruin chemistry. Now, I'll make this one short and sweet because personally, I just don't see how Kenny could struggle to add him. He's a man of numerous talents, but perhaps none more so than his skill set as a volume shooter. You cannot tell me that Max Strus will have trouble finding footing in an offense that seems to prioritize his strengths, man. I mean, he's a very good off-ball shooter, an underrated cutter, and moves the ball very, very well. And the chemistry that he built with the Cavs bigs and Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, whether it be off of DHOs or pick and roll, in particular, gives me the hope that he would only add to the potential lineup versatility that this team could have upon his return. So I'm not worried in the slightest. I put the panic meter down around 2, with my biggest overall concern probably being the rotation itself. Who's in, who's out, that sort of thing. So I'm not really worried about that one. Number 12, Cavs win all major awards. This one comes from a slew of people, but led so by Kerry Lou. All awards go to the Cavs: MVP, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, etc. Kerry Lou knows how to dream big here. don't she? I love it, honestly, right? The eternal optimist in me loves it. I do not think the MVP will come out of Cleveland, but I do honestly believe that they will have a serious shot at Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, and so on and so forth. The Cavs' win-loss record, along with statistical dominance and style of play, could give Atkinson a real chance to earn Coach of the Year. Caris LeVert and Ty Jerome could certainly get some real praise if they keep up their level of play and impact. And Evan Mobley is off to a really great start defensively. Now, just to put a bow on this, Mobley holds the third best odds to win Defensive Player of the Year over on FanDuel right now at plus 1,000. Caris holds the ninth highest odds to win Sixth Man of the Year at 2,500. And Kenny Atkinson leads the pack in Coach of the Year odds, slightly ahead of Joe Mazzulla at 500. Number 13, Cavs will make Eastern Conference Finals 4 of the next 5 years. I think this is very possible, but it could certainly come down to the Cavs roster over the next few seasons. This new CBA, as we all know, it's kind of ass, right? It makes things very difficult in terms of retaining talent. So I'm glad the Cavaliers have already signed all these contracts, but they're going to start kicking in over the next few seasons, and the Cavaliers are going to have to make a decision on the luxury tax and going into it, paying repeater tax, and how to build around their core without really damning themselves or cap strapping themselves for the foreseeable future. And so keeping everybody together might prove a little difficult, but at the end of the day, I do believe it's totally possible, especially with Kenny Atkinson at the helm. Number 14, Sam Merrill will win Sixth Man of the Year. How can you not love this one, folks? I'll say this. Sam Merrill is currently ranked 17th in the league in plus minus per game. He's 7th in 3-point makes from bench players, and he has the second best plus minus among reserves this year. That said, he's just probably not going to be able to put up the stats to get the award hype. He is averaging 7.1 points, 1.1 rebound, and 1.6 assists per game while shooting 42.1% from the field, including 40% from 3-point distance. That ain't bad, but it's not really Sixth Man of the Year worthy when you really think about it, because this is a award that is traditionally given to guys who can put up big scoring numbers. And I just don't see him being able to do that because Caris LeVert and Ty Jerome are also not really making it easy on him by their level of play. They've been phenomenal to start the season. So I don't think he's going to get the praise to be able to warrant that award, but I am very, very glad that he is receiving regular playtime. And last but not least, number 15, Donovan Mitchell for president. I love these from Ty. He says, all I know is it's big Cleveland this year, 7-0, booking my flight for June. Donovan Mitchell for MVP. Fuck it. Donovan Mitchell for president, and Kenny Atkinson has done miracles on me. I don't know what kind of bullshit JB Bickerstaff had us on. Man, are we at a good place, or are we in a good place? Go Cavs.